Hello everybody, this is Yasmin from Yarkspiri fantasyart.com and welcome to another illustration video tutorial. So for this week's tutorial, the request was that I actually draw a snake woman who is preferably hunting or stalking her prey. For this reason I actually chose to have the prey to be human, but I wanted to have more of a primitive overall concept for both the human and the serpent lady. So for this reason, as I was working on this illustration, I really wanted to show an environment that would help emphasize the nature of both these characters. So I actually placed them in more of a forest-like setting to help emphasize this. Now, as the snake lady is actually stalking her prey, I wanted to have her resemble somewhat of a real-life creature. So I took inspiration from the boa constrictor, which in certain cases, depending on where it lives and its habitat, actually does tend to attack its prey from trees, or if it's in swamplands or anything where it can hide in the water, will ambush its prey there. So by using this as inspiration, I really wanted to make the snake lady more of an ambush predator. Now, how would you ambush a human? For me, the best way to do this would be obviously to have very high trees that are high up in the canopy, because it would provide her with more camouflage, which also allowed me to choose a color palette which allowed her to essentially mostly blend in. Not entirely, because I don't want her to blend in so you can't see her, because that would defy the purpose of the painting if you couldn't see the character. But it did give me some general ideas of what to work with when I was working with her color palette. Now, because I wanted to have her in the trees, but I also wanted to show the human that was being hunted by her, I needed to show a more upward shot. So I chose a very extreme angle for this drawing. Something else that I did, however, is I actually rotated my entire canvas to make sure that I had a more dynamic angle. So the general angle is more unsettling, so it shows the dire nature of what's actually occurring. By slanting the shot, or the camera angle for this painting, like I said, it tends to give a more unnerving presence. You'll often see this technique used in paintings, illustration, but it's probably more prominent in video. The simple reason being that it's a great way to unsettle the audience in a scene. So I use the same very technique in my illustration just to help show the dire nature of the human's plight, because he's essentially going to be hunted down by this creature. Now, unlike the previous version, I did not want to necessarily make her ugly looking, just because I didn't see the need for this. Yes, she could use her beauty to attract males into her trap, but that was not necessarily the design perspective I wanted to take. She's more neutral in appearance. She's not like overly gorgeous or anything like that, but she's also not like terrifying. So she doesn't have like these really crinkly limbs for climbing and stuff. But she does have claws. She does have certain appealing aspects to her. So I was trying to essentially give somewhat of that aspect, but not entirely a more beautiful appearance to her. So as you can see, I'm working on the face for the male character who's going to be hunted. Now, as I'm working on this, I'm really trying to force a perspective in every element that I'm using in this painting. So what this means is I have to look at a lot of reference material, I have to do a lot of sketches on the side that you don't see me do, just to try and figure out how to draw these angles. Something else I'm also using is my mirror on the side of me as I'm working. I tend to do that when I need a lot more reference material, and it tends to be easier just to essentially pose out my hand or look at the side of my face as I'm trying to draw these elements. Now, because of the extreme angle on this, I couldn't do that entirely, so I did have to look on YouTube for video footage, as well as Google Images, just to make sure I had enough material to be able to get the angles of the nose correct, and the foreshortening of the general face. Now, this overall painting took about 5 hours to do, so it wasn't a very long painting, but there was a lot of technical aspects that required some preliminary work in order to get done correctly. So the research for just took a little bit longer than normal. I was constantly referring to my reference material in my book section, because I have a giant resource on that. All of this helped me actually paint this illustration. As you may have noticed, I actually decided not to draw the spear in the character's hand. The main reason for this is that I wanted to make him look more vulnerable as a character. So by removing the spear, it made it look like he wasn't expecting to be ambushed. But at the same time, he knows that something's not right in the forest, so he does look somewhat unnerved. So he's not completely relaxed, he's still on the edge because he doesn't know what's troubling him, but something is troubling him about his environment. So right now I'm just starting on adding some of the details for the snake woman. I will leave the face until almost the last element to her, mainly because I was trying to figure out just how beautiful to make her, whether or not I wanted to make her more animalistic, make her look more foreign, and by taking those elements I decided to make her in between the two. I didn't want her to have, like I said before, too much of a beautiful appearance, but also I didn't want to make her too ugly either. So as you can see, I'm just adding essentially a more primitive weapon in her hand. Although she's technically able to strangle her prey like a boa constrictor, I did not want that to be the only method that she used for hunting, because I did want her to have some ability to think like a human, because she was part human. So by adding a weapon, it shows some form of intelligence, because most animals are not able to create weapons. As far as I know, humans are the only ones that make knives and spears. But some animals in the animal kingdom are able to use tools. So in this case, I definitely wanted to show that she had some cognitive abilities. So by adding a very primitive weapon, it gives a small inkling as to that. Just working on the lighting. You will see in the final image I did quite a few changes, and those were just essentially adding some tribal tattoos to the character and increasing the shadow and the highlights on both characters. So as in the past couple weeks, I won't be able to accept new requests. I will be instituting a voting system later on. Once I'm done the current requests that I've committed to, I will start the voting process for those. So thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon. So thank you and take care.